Live. All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to Podcasting 101. For those who don't know me, my name is Sarah Lalone and I am a first-year teacher candidate studying at the University of Ottawa in the French Faculty of Education. So I welcome you today to my MAD PD presentation. I decided to do a presentation on podcasting because not too long ago, maybe I would say in October, November, I started my own podcast. So it's called Que Sera Sera, and I was inspired by a couple other podcasters that I know. So Chris Clough, Roland Chidiak, Derek Rodenheiser, and they kind of inspired me to take on this new avenue and to jump right into podcasting. So I'm using that right now as a teacher candidate to talk about my journey in the Faculty of Education. And what I've realized is that it is an extremely useful tool for educators. So I said, why not kind of show the world how great podcasting is, because I think it's pretty old. Like, podcasting isn't a new thing to listen to podcasts, but I don't think that people have really like gotten into the swing of things yet on maybe getting into podcasting and stuff. So the presentation that I made today, I made it on VideoScribe, which is an app that you download for free on your iPad, and you can make a whiteboard video with your voice over on the video. So the video is going to talk about two things. So first off, what is podcasts? Who does it? Why you should listen to it? And then the second part of the video is learning how to jumpstart your own and why you should get into it and what are the benefits and kind of how easy and simple it is. So here we go. I will share my screen. Those are the millions of windows. So we are going to get started and jump right into it.
Welcome to Podcasting 101, where today we are going to be talking about podcasting for educators. So for those of you listening who are completely new to the idea of podcasting is an audio file, and this audio file is recorded by an individual. Once this person records the audio file, they post it on a platform and share it with listeners around the world. It's very similar to radio, but you don't normally listen to it live. It could be broadcasted somewhere live beforehand, but once it's archived, it becomes a podcast. So it's not in the moment. Podcasts are MP3 files, but they rarely contain music. It's more of a talkback radio style content. You may be wondering, why do people choose to podcast? Well, there's tons of people who decide to do this, and they want to share their ideas and passions with people all around the world. What's great about podcasting is that it also allows us as podcasters to connect with like-minded people. So you start by creating content, and then once you have this content, this idea recorded, you then have to distribute it. So you can distribute it on a free platform to then broadcast it. And this is where it gets interesting. So your idea is now shared with the world. And what's really nice about this is that you can receive feedback and start conversations with people about the topic of your choosing. Once you have this feedback and this conversation, you can then reflect on the topic. And this just kind of creates a really nice cycle about podcasting. So where can you find podcasts? Myself, having an Apple device, my main hub for podcasts is the podcast library on iTunes, and this is the app right here. So if you do have an Apple or Android device, you can also use SoundCloud that we just saw, or this one is Podbean, where millions of podcasts exist. You can also easily navigate through the Apple Play Store to listen to podcasts. What types of podcasts exist? Well, today I'm promoting the educational type of podcastings. There are also health podcasts, motivational podcasts, religious podcasts. Something a little more lighter would be any comedy podcasts. There's also podcasts about business and so many millions more. So there's different categories that you can go choose within the apps that I had previously mentioned. So why listen to a podcast? Well, first of all, it's because it is simple and easy. Now, the next thing is that it's free professional development or personal development, so you can't go wrong with that. And next, it's such an effective use of your spare time. You have to listen to podcasts when you're just cleaning the house or things like that to enhance your knowledge. So you might be asking yourself, how do you listen to a podcast? Well, first of all, you need to find a podcast, okay, using one of the apps that I recommended. So second of all, once you found something you like, you can read the About section to see if it's really for you. If you like it, you can then subscribe, where you'll get notifications for new episodes. Once you like an episode, you can download it and listen to it offline on your device. And number 5 is listen to it anywhere and everywhere. Next, I'd like to talk to you about who to listen to and who to follow. So here are my personal recommendations of Canadian podcasters. We have 4 of them, including myself, in Canada. So the first one, his name is Derek Roadnizer. So he is at Derek Roadnizer on Twitter, very active on Twitter, and a really great connection and a really great person to have in your PLN on Twitter. And so when I spoke to him about podcasting, he told me that it allows him to deeper into conversation with educators and do the deep dives that we don't usually take the time to do. So the next one is Roland Shidiak. So Roland is at our Shids on Twitter. And when I talked to him, he says, I love podcasting because I get to connect with people and enter into conversations about what drives them and inspires them. It brings him and others energy. And the last one is Chris Clough. So he has a podcast called Chasing Squirrels, and he is at Chris J. Clough on Twitter. And when I spoke to him about podcasting, he said, every conversation I have brings me down one more alley, one more reflective context, and one more tool to help me help my students. And now guess what? It is your turn. I would like to give you 7 reasons why you should start podcasting. So the first one is podcasting allows you to reflect on your professional practice. Second of all, it allows you to record your thoughts via audio rather than writing. Personal preference. Third of all, you can also see that it's extremely rewarding. Fourth of all, it brings you on a journey and down paths that you never thought that you would take, which is really great. It is also super authentic. It's live in the moment. You can't rewrite it or change it once it's recorded. Sixth of all, you get to connect with others, which is one of the most rewarding things about podcasting. And number 7 is that we need more Canadian podcasters, especially in education. So how can you start podcasting? That is a question you are probably asking yourselves. So first of all is to choose a topic, a mission, a goal, and it's really important to find something that you're passionate about. Second of all, you can choose your brand. So you find a catchy name and make a clear description of who you are and what you want to promote in your podcast. After that, go get it, start recording. So record any tool that you're familiar with, whether it's your iPhone or a tool like Zencaster Online, or you can even extract an audio file from a video that you made. Next, stream it. So you can use Podbean, SoundCloud, or TuneIn Radio for this. Next, what I would love to do and for you to do is to share it. So share it on your website, on Twitter, on Facebook, on a blog, put it out there. So this might interest you. Podcast might be your thing, but you ask yourself, what could you podcast about? Well, things that you're passionate about. It'll be easy to talk about those things. You could tell stories about your classroom, about your research. You can have conversations with other educators, with students. You can talk about a new project or even something that inspires you. So my final tips for you to podcasts would be, first of all, to be creative and really explore new avenues and challenge yourself. Second of all, ask questions and look into things that you may not be sure of. And lastly, make connections with people and build those relationships.
Okay, we are back. So was that good, everyone? Everyone could hear it? Awesome. So I have a few special guests, actually. I forgot to mention them before we started, but I mentioned 3 Canadian podcasters in that video, and I have 2 of them with me today. So I'm going to utilize their knowledge and their experience. And I even have Rola here with me down at the bottom, who I did a podcast with. I got to interview her. So Roland, Chris, any pointers, tips, things, we'll just turn that down. Pointers, tips, or things that you want to tell an educator that may be looking into starting, you know, a podcast. They don't know how to begin or what to do. Whoops. There we go.
I think it's probably important to reach out to people like yourself, and then that way they're not alone in getting started.
Yeah, totally. Chris?
How's the audio? Is it clear on your end? Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, I think often when I think about what started me with the podcast was doing vlogs and using my device. I started a new position with the board this year. So from September through to the end of November, as I was walking home from work, I would just take out my iPhone and do a video, just right in the native video recorder. And then by the time I got home, I would dump it into iMovie, throw a little background free music on it, and then upload it to YouTube. So my walk home was, it's awesome. It's like 17 minutes. So I could drop a 10-minute video blog, I guess, reflection about what was going on that week, and then upload it to my YouTube channel. And that was kind of the starting point for me to start capturing my reflection in that way. But I found for individuals that sort of think of podcasting kind of here, and you know, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of management. I'm like, well, if you have a device, you could jump in right here. And then it kind of comes down to what you were mentioning, Sarah, is just make sure you get it out there. So you want to hang it somewhere that people can find it. And you want to be able to speak to it. You want to say, hey, I'm kind of doing this thing. What do you think? Give me some feedback. Because generating, you're not advertising to get conversations. You're trying to be in spaces where conversations are. So if you have a blog that's cool, or if you have a Twitter feed, you put it out there. Ask people directly, what do you think about this? What's your opinion? And then slowly you get to a place where people are kind of reaching out to you and saying, hey, I want to talk to you about a thing. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what you're mentioning there about just doing it on your walk home, podcasting doesn't have to be all fancy dancy with the music and stuff like that. But, you know, I have tons of conversations with people all the time, and I wish I could just record them, because that's what podcasting is. It's that authentic conversation that you're having with people. And I think about the one that I had with Rola. I could have just had that conversation with her at a restaurant and, you know, not been able to share it with anyone. But because I took that time to record it, I was able to share it with others. And especially in my context as a teacher candidate, you know, I get to share all of these resources, these conversations that I'm having, all these new things that I'm not, you know, necessarily learning in teachers college. I get to share that with my peers, which is really, you know, a huge advantage for me, just in my own personal development. I guess another thing would be that it's good, you know, to share. Oh, Rola, yeah?
Yeah, I was just going to add something else. You have, I mean, Derek and Roland, as well as Chris and you really have inspired me to really get onto the podcasting, because it's hard to find time to do all the blogging and the reflection on a written blog. And I find the podcast is so effective to reach the students learning as well, and my learning with them. And I think that's amazing, and also connecting to educators. So hopefully I'll start one pretty soon.
I think that your podcast would be amazing, Rola. We have to find a clever name for your podcast. I have to totally give 100% of the credit for my name for Kesera Sera. that was 1,000% Chris's idea. We actually had a group chat on Twitter, Chris, Roland, and Derek, and they were just like throwing names out to me, and I was like, no, not that one, not that one, not that one. And then Chris came up with Pesara Sara, and it was like, yes, that's the one we're gonna pick. So anyways, it's great when you have a really good support group, and your PLN is always there, and it's really cool to just take the risk and do it. I have to say that I had done a few vlogs before. Actually, if you go on the YouTube channel that I'm streaming this on, you'll see some of the vlogs that I did when I worked at Walt Disney, and I just rewatched them today, and it's like completely embarrassing. But again, it's just a learning experience, and from that, I'm here now, and I'm doing a bit more professional podcast that I'm streaming out to Twitter and to the world, and it's really cool because I'm having those conversations that I never, starting Teachers College, I never thought that I would have had. I never thought that I would be doing this Mad PD session. And that being said, I have to say that, if anybody, even there's just like that little spark that could interest you, if you have any questions, I am totally open to talking about my journey and how I got into it. I'm sure Roland and Chris and Derek too, we're all easily accessible on Twitter there. So yeah, any final remarks?
I think you're amazing. I can't believe how fast you have embraced not only technology, but for a good purpose, and becoming a reflective learner. And I think teachers have been on this journey for a long time, and I applaud your risk taking. It's amazing.
Thanks, Rola. I honestly, I have to just give a lot of credit to the people that have like really supported me, and I learn from the best through Twitter, through all of you. I see what you're doing, and all of you inspire me every day, even those who are not in my hangout room right now. It just has made me a whole new person, and a better educator, and a better student, and a better everything. So I really appreciate all of you being here and following my journey. It's just the beginning, so we'll see where it goes. All right.
Can I throw one thing in just quick?
Always.
So part of it is, and thank you for the kudos. I appreciate that. And if I pay it backwards, I could say the same things for Roland, because the movement from vlog to trying the podcast was dovetailed by conversations that I had with him. And what's really fascinating, you talked about, that power of the PLN. There are individuals in my professional world now that, because I just kind of went for it, now I consider to be both friends and kind of a ready reserve of support if I need it. And I mean, I have connections as well, real time, people that I see every single day. But it has become critical to, I feel, my professional development to be able to reach out to people that are completely outside of my domain, just to get a different look, to get a different resource. And then I bring it back to the class, and then I kind of head out again, and then I'll talk to somebody else, and then I bring it back to the class. So the same kudos that you were throwing to Rodenizer and me and Roland, I throw back to Roland, because he was a catalyst for me.
Roland, you're up.
Thanks. Awesome. So what I want to say a couple of say it's been a real pleasure working with you. And I want to say, like, it's awesome when you can have a network of people who come together and help each other out no matter what. And that's what's been happening. And it's, as you can see, it's beautiful, because all these people are not just podcasting, but jumping onto a bandwagon that they really enjoy and go after that passion. And so the more people that can model that, the better it is for all educators. I want to make a comment about something Julie said here in the chat. She is one of the foundational learning points for integrating technology. And I think that's so key. And it's to tell people that you're probably going to find some failure along the way. And if you're just jumping in and thinking it's all going to work the first time, in a lot of trouble. So, I mean, when I started my podcast, I was lucky. I was starting in August, so I had the luxury around. But I remember hitting a couple of barriers and I remember thinking, what am I doing? This is never going to work. And then I would kind of step away. I'd come back. I'd connect with my PLN, the people who were holding my hand and helping me through it. And now I'm at a point where there are still barriers. And I have more confidence because of that, the habit of taking risks and knowing that there are going to be issues along the way. It's not always going to be easy, but if you really love it and you really want it, then you just keep chasing after it. So thank you for showing us your chase after podcasting. And I look forward to seeing what comes from your modeling for other people, especially the new teachers.
Yeah. And the last thing that you just kind of sparked in my mind was that a lot of people don't blog or do podcasts or vlog because they're scared of what others are going to think and say, and the judgment. And, you know, I luckily have never really felt like that. I'm pretty open to criticism and all of that stuff. And because in the end, it just makes you a better person. You're going to learn from it no matter what. So I just say to all those people who are, you know, too nervous or whatever it may be to not do the podcast, just jump into it. Like, you have nothing to lose, and this space that we exist in, at least with my PLN, I feel like it is such a safe environment for me to express my thoughts and my practice, and, you know, the new things I'm learning, whether I be sharing with everyone on my podcast a success or a failure. All of it is a learning experience. So one way or another, I think everyone's a winner in that. So we'll end it on that note. All right. Thanks everyone so much. And I hope we continue this podcast train. Bye.